Remember the day you got the call? The sun was hitting your windshield just right. You were pulled over in a grocery store parking lot, engine idling, sweat slicking your palms. When the recruiter said the words Senior Director of Strategy, you felt a rush of heat that started in your chest and ended in your eyes. You called your parents first. Your father's voice cracked. For a man who spent 40 years in a steel mill, this was the ultimate victory. His son, the corner office, the six-figure starting salary, the benefits package that sounded like a religious text. You felt like you had finally made it to the inner sanctum. You thought you were going to change things. You thought you were going to be the one to steer the ship. You didn't realize the ship had been dead in the water for 30 years. Your first Monday. The lobby of the Sterling Vane building smells like expensive floor wax and old money. It's a cold, silent scent. You take the elevator to the 42nd floor. Your ears pop. Your office is perfect. Mahogany desk. A view of the skyline that makes people look like ants. A chair that costs more than your first car. You sit down. You open your laptop. You wait for the mission briefing. You wait for the high-stakes strategy meeting. By noon, the only thing in your inbox is an invitation to a Synergy Alignment webinar and a request to approve a vacation day for a subordinate you haven't met yet. You go to the break room. The coffee is high-end, but the beans have been sitting in the hopper so long they taste like burnt rubber. You see the others, men and women in charcoal suits, staring at the microwave as if it holds the secrets of the universe. No one talks about the work. They talk about the commute. They talk about the weather. They talk about the upcoming restructuring that everyone says has been coming since 2012. You go back to your desk. You realize your job isn't to strategize. Your job is to move column A into column B. Then, on Thursday, you move column B back to column A because a vice president in a different time zone felt the optics were off. 6 months in, the imposter syndrome is starting to fade, but it's being replaced by something much worse, a creeping, itchy boredom. You try to innovate. You spend 3 weeks building a streamlined workflow that would automate 80% of your department's manual data entry. You present it to your boss, a man named Arthur, whose skin looks like parchment paper. Arthur looks at your deck. He doesn't look at the data. He looks at the font. He tells you they don't use Calibri there. He says they use Arial because it is the brand standard. You tell him the system could save the company $4 million a year in labor costs. Arthur sighs. He leans back in his leather chair. He tells you innovation is a dangerous word. He says it creates friction, and friction slows down the machine. He tells you to just keep the spreadsheets moving. That night, you sit in your luxury SUV in the parking garage. The engine is off. The silence is heavy. You realize that your department doesn't actually produce anything. You are a middleman for a middleman. You are a ghost managing other ghosts. But then you check your bank account. The direct deposit hit. It's more money than your father made in a year. You buy a $3,000 watch. You tell yourself it's the price of your soul. And so far, the trade seems fair. Year 3. The transformation is almost complete. You've learned the art of the lean. This is when you walk through the office with a single sheet of paper in your hand, looking slightly annoyed. If you look annoyed, no one asks you for anything. If you have a paper, you look like you're on a mission. Your calendar is full of touch-base meetings and alignment circles. You spend 6 hours a day on video calls where nothing is decided. You've become an expert at using corporate jargon to say absolutely nothing. You talk about circling back to holistic frameworks and pivoting to consumer-facing interfaces. The others nod. They are doing the same thing. You look at your team. They are young, hungry, and terrified. You see the light in their eyes beginning to dim, just like yours did. They come to you with ideas. They want to change the world. You give them the same speech Arthur gave you. You tell them to check their fonts. You tell them to stay in their lane. You realize the system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. It's a massive, multi-billion-dollar organism designed to keep itself alive by doing as little as possible. It is a giant pile of cash that sits in the middle of the city, and your only job is to make sure no one steals a handful while the board members are golfing. Year 7. You wake up and you can't remember what you did yesterday. Your life is a blur of gray fabric and blue light. Your wife asks how work was. You say it was fine. She stops asking. You find yourself staring at the dust motes dancing in the light of your corner office window. You watch them for 45 minutes. You realize you've forgotten how to do the things you used to love. You used to be a coder. You used to be a designer. You used to be a builder. Now, you don't even know how to use the latest software. You don't know the new languages. You are a director, which in this building means you are a professional meeting attender. You try to look for other jobs. You open LinkedIn. You see the requirements for senior roles at startups. They want hands-on leaders. They want agile thinkers. They want people who are in the trenches. You look at your hands. They are soft. Your skills are a decade out of date. Then you look at the salary. The startups are offering half of what you make now. You have a mortgage on a house with a heated pool. You have private school tuition for 2 kids. You have a lifestyle that requires a steady infusion of sterling vein blood money. You are a prisoner in a cage made of gold. The bars are the retirement match. The lock is the annual bonus. You realize you aren't too big to fail. You're just too expensive to hire and too hollow to leave. Year 10. The mirror in the executive washroom is unforgiving. The fluorescent lights catch the bags under your eyes. Your hair is thinning. Your skin has the grayish tint of someone who hasn't felt direct sunlight on a Tuesday in a decade. There is a new intern in your department, a kid named Leo. He's 22. He reminds you of yourself. He's got a notebook full of ideas. He's got a disruptive mindset. He comes into your office. He's vibrating with excitement. He tells you he's been looking at the data flow. He says that if you just integrated a new interface, you could cut the processing time in half. You stop him. You don't even let him finish the sentence. You tell him the interface isn't on the approved vendor list. You explain that using it would require a security audit. You tell him a security audit would take 6 months, and during those months, the department's output would be flagged as unstable. You remind him the board doesn't like instability. Leo looks at you. He doesn't see a mentor. He doesn't see a senior director of strategy. He sees a ghost. He sees a man-shaped void sitting in a $5,000 chair defending a spreadsheet that doesn't matter in a building that shouldn't exist. He backs out of the office, apologizing. You watch him go. You want to yell at him. You want to tell him to run, to get out while his brain still works, to go work for a non-profit or a wood shop or a garden. Anything but this. But you don't. Instead, you open your laptop. You see an email from the Vice President of Operations. He wants to know if column A can be moved into column C by Friday. You sigh. You adjust your expensive watch. You start selecting cells. You move the data. You press the keys. The rhythm is steady. It is the only thing left in the room. The sun sets behind the skyline. The office lights flicker on automatically. You are still there. You have nowhere else to go. You have forgotten who you were before the fort on the second floor. You are the ghost in the cubicle. And the worst part is that you're grateful for the paycheck. The story you just heard isn't a ghost story. Not in the traditional sense. There are no haunted houses here. There are only haunted office buildings. Thousands of people are listening to this right now, sitting in their cars in a parking garage or staring at a monitor in a room where the air feels recycled. You know the feeling of your brain slowly turning to mush while you're paid to look busy. You know the fear that if you left, you wouldn't know how to do anything else. The system doesn't want your talent, it wants your time. And it's willing to pay just enough to make sure you never try to take it back. The ask. The office lights are off, but we're still here. If this story hit a nerve, if you felt that mahogany desk under your own palms, drop a comment below. Tell us when you realized the dream job was a cage. Subscribe to join the few who actually see the strings. We're building something real here, outside the cubicle. Don't let the silence take you. Wake up. We'll see you in the next shift.